everybody, today I'm going to be doing a wrap up of books that I read towards the end of last year. I didn't read an awful lot, so a monthly wrap up was never going to happen. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. That's probably from the span of December from probably July, which isn't great. I think after uni I just burnt out, all reading and all writing just stopped, so I didn't get too much read, but I'm going to finally be wrapping up some stuff that I read at the end of last year, so let's get on to it. So the first book that I read at some point at the end of last year was Dream a Little Dream by Giovanna Fletcher. I can't actually remember why I picked this one up. I did enjoy it, I sped through it because it's chick lit, but it was quite stereotypical. You can guess exactly what's going to happen within the first few pages. I quite liked reading about the main character and her work life, but when she got to kind of her romantic life, then I don't know. It was okay. I think it was just okay, and I would recommend it if you like chick lit, because you probably would like this and enjoy it. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to tell you what it's about. It's about a woman named Sarah. She starts dreaming about this guy who she used to know in college or high school or something, I think, and she starts having these like sexy dreams about him, and then one day he turns up in her life and that's a bit awkward. You can guess from that synopsis, you can guess what's going to happen, but I did enjoy it. It was good, it was light, it was fluffy, and that's all you really ask for of a chick lit. The next book I read I actually received at a Penguin event, and it is Gail Boss by Sophie Amoruso. I was interested in this. I'd seen it around quite a lot, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did, because I really have no interest in business, and that's essentially what this is about. It's non-fiction, like her high school journey to this kind of successful businesswoman, and like I said, I really enjoyed it, a lot more than I thought I would. I didn't think I would really like it, but I actually really did. It was very honest, it was quite empowering, inspiring, motivating and empowering. Girl Boss will give you the kick up the arse you need to reach your potential, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It was a very short read because it's only small, and it's actually come in quite handy because obviously I am a graduate, so I am applying for jobs and things, so it, you know, tells you the do's and don'ts of that kind of thing. So yeah, I enjoy this and I recommend it if you are into that sort of thing. The next book I read was Chasers of the Light by Tyler Not Gregson. I was sent this for review, and it's a collection of poetry, but it's all kind of written in different ways. So he sometimes does blackout poetry like that, which is a really interesting method of poetry that I've got quite into. If you would like to see a video on blackout poetry and stuff like that, then I really enjoy it, so I would like to do a video on that if you would like to see it. But he writes on receipts, and I'm trying to find some now, and just like bits of paper that he finds. He also takes his own photographs, so he will take a photograph and write a poem on that. Loads and loads of different means of writing poetry, and I really enjoyed it actually. It's one of those collections that kind of tells a story even though the poems aren't particularly linked. You can kind of see the story go, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a really different volume of poetry. It's not just kind of written language, it is using pictures and using things in order to create something new, and I liked that. There's lots of different themed poetry in here, a lot about love and relationships, but I actually enjoyed the ones about travel and that kind of subject. I thought that was really interesting, so yep, I would recommend. I enjoyed this, thought it was a very good read. The next book I read, again, I got this at a Penguin event, and it is Yumney Park's In Order to Live, again non-fiction, and it was incredible, this book. Meeting this lady was a fantastic experience. She was very inspirational, very funny and very honest, and it was great to be able to hear her talk, and her book is just as wonderful. It was a really great read, very hard hitting but very emotional but incredibly honest, and I just really loved it. For somebody who couldn't really speak English or anything that long ago, to be able to write so eloquently in a book was amazing, and her story is just fantastic. If you don't want to read the book, then at least look Yomni up, because it's definitely a tale worth knowing, and it was a fantastic read. Definitely one of the best books that I read last year, and it's very much a story of family and survival, and it's just wonderful. Go and read it. The next book is The Hollow Crown by Dan Jones. This is a non-fiction historical book, and I really liked this, and it tells the story of the War of Roses and Rise of the Tudors, and I really enjoyed this more than I thought I would, because it is it's written quite fictionally. It's quite descriptive, and that's something that I didn't actually expect. It made it a lot easier to read, because it's not like you reading a textbook, it's like reading a fun kind of fiction book. It definitely gave me a lot of information on the Tudors, period of history that I find really interesting and that I am ashamed that I don't know as much about. I would definitely pick up Dan Jones books in future. It's definitely made me think differently on historical non-fiction, and it's made me want to go out and look at what else is out there and see what else I can find, because this was great. The next book I read was one that I just found myself in the shop, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I didn't actually realise how big it was on BookTube until I actually was like aware of the book, and it is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doughty. I heard nothing but good things about this ever since I mentioned it in my TBR, and I absolutely loved this. I have a very bizarre fascination with crematorium and death and things like that. It's so interesting. This was actually very humorous for all it was about death, and obviously it could have been quite a sad book. It was actually quite a funny book, and it was a story about Caitlin and learning the ropes of how to work in a crematorium and how to burn bodies and make them up and do all that kind of stuff, and it was genuinely interesting, and it was so easy to read because I was so interested in it. She also went into different death rituals for different cultures, which I found really quite interesting. You don't actually have to be into this sort of thing to enjoy the book. It was just a very funny, honest book about a mortician. So yeah, I would definitely recommend. And the final book I read in 2015 was An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield, and I loved this book so much. A British astronaut actually got sent up into space, the International Space Station, I think around the time of Christmas. I think it was a couple of weeks before, maybe the beginning of December, end of November time-ish. And I loved that whole thing, and I love the astronaut Tim Peake who's been sent up there. He's so happy and lovely. Not that I know him personally, obviously. It was so much fun, and Christopher Hadfield was actually on the TV show that, I don't know if it was shown elsewhere, but it was on British telly, talking about space and how dangerous it could be, and also, you know, how fun it could be in the different routines that they have, and it made me want to read the book, so I picked up the book, and it was such an interesting book. Interesting doesn't really do it justice. I loved it. These are pictures of Earth from the International Space Station, and this bottom one in particular is just gorgeous. It's very matter of fact, it is very informative but in a fun way, and he's a great speaker, I think, as well, and I didn't know if that would translate well to page, but it's great, and I love it. I feel like I know way more about the International Space Station than I did, so yeah, I definitely recommend it if you have an interest in science, space, Chris Hadfield, you know, whatever. Would definitely recommend, because it's a great book. And that was my wrap up for the end of 2015. Pretty poor considering that's like 4 months worth of books, but I am trying to do better this year, and yeah, I was just burnt out from uni, that's what it was, and I couldn't be bothered to read, and that's awful, and that's probably why you didn't see an awful lot of book videos from me at the end of last year. But I am trying to do better in 2016. I've already halfway through one book, so yes, we are on track for a good year. If you read any of these books, then please do let me know if you enjoyed them. If you have any recommendations relating to these books, then do let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!